Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Today, Super Saturday, in the United Kingdom, as lawmakers make a key vote on how to exit the European Union, and it should be no surprise that there's been a forced question to ask for a delay. How will this affect gold and silver? We'll explore that and take a look at this latest news and how it will affect the markets and precious metal prices. Yes, this is breaking here today. This is the Brexit deal that many have thought would potentially mean that the European Union would be separated from the United Kingdom here, at least in terms of its laws and centralized control over the nation of Great Britain. But nonetheless, it turns out that getting out of Brexit has not been as easy as many had thought would be the case. You have to renegotiate trade and the like, and how the terms of this exit will be. And it could be that it's so watered down that it's not really an exit at all. Now, that's for many of you who watch this channel. We do have several key members here of the community that are residents of the United Kingdom. And so be curious to see what your thoughts are on this. But there is an amendment that was introduced by former Conservative lawmaker Oliver Letwin that withholds approval of Prime Minister Boris Johnson's withdrawal agreement from the European Union until legislation is in place. And when it's passed 322 to 306. And so the supporters of the Letwin amendment suggest that it prevents the government forcing through a no-deal Brexit at the end of October, while its opponents argue that it is stalling a tactic by anti-Brexit lawmakers. So this is coming to us from CNBC. So we'll give this perspective and then take a look at it from the perspective of the British press, notably the BBC here. The UK lawmakers have voted to amend a crucial Brexit vote, which now forces the government to seek an extension to the deadline and delays full approval. The amendment, introduced by former Conservative lawmaker Oliver Letwin, withholds approval of Prime Minister Boris Johnson's withdrawal agreement from the European Union until legislation is in place, and was passed 322 to 306. The move automatically triggers the Benn Act, which forces the Prime Minister to request a further extension to the October 31 deadline until January 31st, 2020. So think about it. Brexit was voted upon back in 2016, and it'll be almost 4 years until it's actually implemented, if it goes on until the next calendar year here. Speaking after the setback, Johnson said the government still not tabled a meaningful vote on Saturday. As of the recording of this video, he literally has hours to renegotiate to try to get a vote done by 11 p.m. London time. That's 6 p.m. Eastern time, the United States. He said the opportunity to save a meaningful vote has effectively been passed up, Johnson said. I will not negotiate a delay with the EU, and neither does the law compel me to do so, Johnson added. However, by law, according to the Benn Act, Johnson has until 11 p.m. London time to send a letter to the EU requesting an extension. It is yet to be seen how the Prime Minister will attempt to circumvent this. Supporters of the Letwin Amendment suggest that it prevents the government forcing through a no-deal Brexit at the end of October, while its opponents argue that it is a stalling tactic by anti-Brexit lawmakers. So, if he doesn't send the letter, that means the UK is out of the European Union by October the 31st. Next week, the government will introduce the legislation needed for us to leave the EU with our new deal on October 31st, and I hope our European colleagues and friends will not be attracted as the opposite benches are, or should I say the front bench opposite by delay, Johnson further added. The withdrawal agreement bill will be introduced in the House of Commons early next week, and it would potentially mean a vote on Tuesday evening on what is termed the second reading as the initial stage of passage of bill through the House of Commons. Should it pass, this would be the first time the House has passed any bill relating to Brexit. Should it then ascend to the House of Lords, Parliament's upper chamber, and pass before the deadline, there's still a possibility that the UK leaves the EU on October the 31st. And I actually watched a little bit of those, of the hearings in the, I guess it's the House of Commons, this morning here, Eastern Time, in the United States here. What does the BBC say about this? MPs back Brexit deal delay. Of course, the BBC, from what I understand, they're probably more for a delay and anti-Brexit is my guess. Maybe they're allergic to a separation from the European Union, as I am allergic to bias pressed with that sneeze there. The PM has vowed to introduce legislation needed to implement his agreement in Parliament next week, but it will have to ask the EU for an extension beyond 31 October after MPs backed the notion designated to rule out a no-deal exit by 322 to 306. Now, that does ask the question, is this really true? Is this really the case? Or is there some, that's what they're saying, but there may be more to it than that. We shall see. The EU said it was up to the UK to inform it of the next steps. The motion, which was tabled by independent MP Sir Oliver Letwin, withholds approval for Boris Johnson's Brexit deal until legislation implementing it has been passed. It was due to be followed by a vote on the main government motion whether or not to back the deal. The motion amended because of the vote on Sir Oliver's amendment was approved without MPs going into division lobbies. A vote on a cross-party amendment on preventing a no-deal referendum and holding a second referendum was also dropped. Defeat is a serious setback for the PM, who has repeatedly insisted that the UK will leave at the end of the month, come what may. And that's kind of what my understanding was it too. It was like, 31st of October was a hard deadline. Now we've got this. Mr. Johnson said he was not daunted or dismayed, and he still believed the best thing for the UK was to leave the EU later this month, 31 October, on the basis of his excellent deal. And of course they're putting that in quotation marks because they, that shows their bias. I will not negotiate a delay with the EU, and neither does the law compel me to do so, he said. He said he did not believe the EU would be attracted by a further delay, and his policy remains unchanged. But Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said the defeat represented an emphatic rejection of the PM's strategy, and he must now comply with the law seeking a further extension. The Democratic Unionist who backed the Letwin Amendment said the delay would allow for further scrutiny of the PM's agreement, emphasizing that his support would depend on the preserving of the constitutional and economic integrity of the UK. Sir Oliver Letwin said the move meant the UK would not crash out of the EU on 31 October without a deal if the necessary legislation was held or derailed. Under the terms of the Benn Act passed last month, the PM is legally obliged to ask the EU for a further delay if the Parliament has not approved an agreement by then. And we're not going to go into the weeds of the Benn Act and see exactly what that says, what the terms of it actually mean. But I'm a little bit skeptical there. But let's say that there is a delay extension. There's several days before the 31st of October. A lot can happen between now and then. We'll see. But let's say that an extension is passed and he asks for an extension and complies with this Benn Act. How will that affect the markets, and how will it affect precious metal prices? It's one thing. Gold and silver, they are something to behold. They kind of they act in accordance with what's going on in the markets these days. They're very reactive in that regard. And what do? They tend to go up in times of economic instability or uncertainty. And this is a case where there's uncertainty here, and this uncertainty could drive the prices up. But my guess is it probably won't. My guess is that gold and silver will probably remain kind of where they're at. There may be a slight bump up here or there as the markets open in Asia first Sunday, that's tomorrow, at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. we may see them rise up just a little bit. I post live streams every Sunday at that time, and we watch the markets open up. And of course, it is not, you can't really tell a lot from the first, half an hour after the markets open. But regardless, geographically speaking, the Asian markets may not be rocked by such news. It's more than likely to be the London markets that are going to have an effect, which will ripple out, obviously. And LBMA obviously has some effect, but my guess is it probably won't do much to the precious metal prices. And again, I believe if anything, they probably will squeak up just slightly, both gold and silver, just because of the uncertainty of it all. But the only thing is that in this day and age, we have a lot of uncertainty either way. You've got fear of bad news, and then all of a sudden it's okay. And so we're kind of rattled with all this news and things that are happening here and there. And more than likely, we're used to it by now, especially with regards to Brexit. It's been delayed, it has been pushed, it's been talked about, it has been this, that, or other different things, different proposals and the like. And so far, most of these have left us to a point where we're not sure what's going to happen. If Britain gets out of the European Union with no deal at all, obviously there's going to be some uncertainty there. But my hope is that the United Kingdom is prepared for such an event as this, that it has been 3 years now, over 3 years, since they left. But politics gets in the way, and a lot of times politicians can prevent common sense from ruining the day and how to prepare for such a time as this. And that's the case with politicians, it seems like, is they end up bloviating so much, and through the sound of their own voice, logic, reason, and common sense and preparedness tend to go by the wayside, pulling us into a situation where we are in a world of hurt. And that's them. That's why you and me acquire gold and silver, because they transcend politics. These metals do, and they react accordingly in times when the politicians don't do their jobs. Well, gold and silver being inert, and also with the history behind them as being money for thousands of years now, well, they will serve that purpose, and they will protect us just fine in one aspect anyway, at least in terms of hedging. So there you have it. But my guess, and some of you may disagree, feel free to post your thoughts below, but my feeling is that gold and silver will be marginally affected at best. In other words, we may see them creep up just ever so slightly, almost to the point of being just a normal day, of an upward movement. I don't think there'll be much effect on this, what's happening today, Super Saturday, even though this has been talked about for a while. Because I think in many cases the markets are like, well, yeah, that's the politicians, that's what they do. They delay and they can't come to an agreement because of egos or what have you. But silver and gold have no egos. They are what they are, and that's why we hold them. So post your thoughts below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to every single one of you for watching this video. And I encourage you to please rate the video. Yes, that's right. By rate, I mean click either the thumbs up button there or the thumbs down button, whichever you prefer. I'm hoping it's a thumbs up, but regardless, share the video. Yes, that's right. I don't just say that. I really do. If you don't mind, if you have the means to do so, and you think it's important enough, feel free to share the video on different platforms out there. And yes, I do enjoy reading your comments. I read every single one of them. I may not comment on all of them, but I do read them. And you will see me put a little heart there, which means that I've acknowledged your comment, and thank you for it. Otherwise, if it requires a response, I will try my best to get to it, either there on the comment itself or in a live stream. I do live streams where I respond to comments on a live stream. And then finally, subscribe. That's right. If you do subscribe, that means that you will get notified, or should get notified, of all videos that are coming on your subscription feeds. And if you click the bell, you should get a notification, although sometimes that has been wary at times. But I do say to subscribe because, why? Because more than half my viewers are not subscribers, believe it or not. So if you do subscribe, you'll be notified of videos and you won't miss. I've seen so many people come and they'll say, hey, Sal, can you post a video about this? And just the day before, I had already done so. So they missed the video. So there you go. Again, a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching.